Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night paralyzed? You're not alone. I know a lot of people that have gone through this, and a lot of people that have, for example, converted and become faithful again have these experiences, and it's basically some kind of a demonic suppression of the person, intimidating the person. Anyway, how many of you have at one time or another woken up unable to speak or move? And if you have, you're not alone. The classical definition of this phenomenon is called sleep paralysis. It may last a few seconds, several moments, or even longer, and usually occurs right before you're about to fall asleep or wake up. Many people report feeling a presence that is often described as malevolent, threatening, or evil, and usually experience a tremendous amount of terror. Now, I had gone for confession to talk to my spiritual father about this. He says, try calling out the name of our Lord Jesus Christ or the Virgin Mary, do the sign of the cross. And I actually was thinking, saying, Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy. And then I said that 3 times and it stopped. But anyway, going back to this, the presence is usually seen, felt, and even heard. People also report unique experiences like the sensation of floating or being outside of the body. They believe the phenomenon to be extremely spiritual. That's what happened to me. When I said, Lord have mercy 3 times, I felt as if my spirit was out of my body, hovering above my body, and I felt these demonic little entities come punching me on the arm, and I felt it like a little bit of a tap, like on my skin. That's the only time I had this sort of quote unquote out of body floating experience. But anyway, going back to this, in the modern medical world, these experiences are defined as hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations, which is often the explanation when conventional modern views of spiritual experience are combined with medical ideas that label direct spiritual experiences as psychopathological. It is well understood that sleep paralysis coincides with physiological mechanisms in the brain. Now, this happened to me, I have to tell you, my experience happened to me when I was, I don't want to boast, I'm just telling people so that they know what could be happening to them. It was a period of time when I was doing a lot of volunteer work. Okay, Christian volunteer work. And obviously the evil one didn't want me to do that. Okay, because we spoil his plan, because we are working for God's salvation plan. Okay, fixing up earth and humanity and the universe. Anything good we do fixes up the universe, and the evil one doesn't want us to do that. Anyway, so yeah, it was a spiritual growth for me. And I guess from what my spiritual father told me, the evil one, of course, tries to stop us from doing things like that. But we don't stop. Anyway, going back to this, what is not well understood are the strange feelings individuals have when experiencing sleep paralysis. The idea of spiritual experiences as an explanation for a bizarre and complex phenomenon about which little is known has been suppressed, thus discouraging discussion of it in modern society. Unfortunately, well, I'm not discouraging, I'm telling you what my experience was, and a lot of people that we talk about this after church in our little reading room where we have our tea and coffee and we talk about theological matters and experiences. A lot of people have had this. Even somebody tried to choke them, This one lady who was reading the Bible continuously for the 3rd time had this type of an experience. Anyway, going back, beginning in college and graduate school, I was particularly, the writer says here, interested in the beliefs of ordinary people, especially the ones that were treated as nonsense in the academic world. The academic world treats spiritual belief in general that way. I was interested in alternative medicine at the same time for the same reason. Right from the beginning, I was convinced that ordinary people are smarter, are more sensible than they're given credit for by scholars, and that tradition that are widespread and deeply held probably have more rational basis and more observation built into them than the theories that I was taught in graduate school. I could not believe that all the beliefs of ordinary people that are not part of the academic worldview are nonsense. I have the impression that the academic world might be a little too narrow, and that regular people might have something to offer about it, sleep paralysis that is, through their experience and what they believe about things. There are beliefs that are based on experience that have been dismissed as superstitious beliefs that bear much more investigation. These are experiences that are built into the spiritual traditions all over the world. In the modern Western world, for at least the past 100 years, these phenomena have been explained on the basis of psychopathology. So the discovery that these experiences are common and that they occur among normal people, that they are not in fact indicative of any type of disease, has tremendous importance for medicine. This is not a new phenomenon. We erased the knowledge of these experiences from the cultural repertoire, end quote. This is from Dr. David J. Hufford, PhD, Professor Emeritus, Penn State Medical School. Now, I just want to tell you that a lot of saints have had these experiences and even more of these, more detailed and deeper and intense. They even had hand-to-hand combat with the demonic entities. Let's put it that way. Now, going back to this, right from the get-go, almost all scientific approaches to the phenomenon of sleep paralysis assume that the experience that stem from it are all hallucinations. Rather than coming from the standpoint of complete neutrality, most studies completely shut out the idea of any reality behind hallucinations. Just because they are measured biological and chemical activities occurring during sleep paralysis does not mean there is a causal relationship between the two. There are other things we must take into consideration, as the quantum science is showing us. There are definitely worlds within our world that we are not yet able to perceive easily. There is definitely a non-physical aspect of science in general that we are just beginning to wake up to. Yes, where are angels? Where are saints? Where is our Lord Jesus Christ when he appears to people? Okay? He sees, of course, usually you can very much more easily see, he says, those who have a clear, clean heart will see me. Now, Nikola Tesla says, the day science begins to study non-physical phenomenon, it will make more progress than it made in all the previous centuries of its existence. And we're talking about other dimensions and other entities in other dimensions. Now, spiritual experience. Modern scholars have found spirit and spirituality hard to define, and, as mentioned earlier, usually place these topics within the circle of ridicule among the scientific community. Many reading this probably have a good idea of the term that fits under the umbrella of spirit or spiritual. They involve out-of-body experiences, visits from entities not of this world, near-death experiences, frequency, vibration, and more. It's important to realize that many experiences people have within the spiritual realm occur when one is fully conscious, awake, and alert, and not during what sleep researchers call sleep paralysis. Well, when I had my experience, I was awake. I immediately woke up, my eyes woke up, and of course my body couldn't move. And I had all these experiences. Now, going back to this, it's quite possible that our level of scientific understanding is not advanced enough to explain certain phenomena. So sometimes they are grouped into the category of hallucinations when really they are simply things we do not understand and cannot yet explain scientifically. Well, our spiritual fathers, our father confessors know that this takes place. And they know why this takes place and who is behind it or what is behind it. It's these malevolent demonic entities that try to intimidate us. But we have the way to stop him. The sign of the cross, the power of the name, Jesus Christ. Okay, and if you have an icon or if you have, it takes time to burn incense. The devil hates incense. Now, going back to this, at the same time, some what people experience during sleep paralysis could very well be hallucinatory. Although I don't believe this to be the case, I am very open, the writer says here, to the idea that what is experienced for some during sleep paralysis is indeed intertwined with the true reality, the nature of reality, a reality we clearly do not yet fully understand. Well, the saints and even from the Old Testament understood of this, concerning all this. Now, the point is here, the article goes on to say, we don't yet know for sure, and for the scientific community to assume and label them as definite hallucinations and as a figment of the imagination is limiting. Scientific evidence for out-of-body phenomenon is not prevalent, but it's hard when so much is suppressed. I'm referring to developments within the world that are classified for the sake of national security. Recent leaks from the NSA were responsible for the very first public disclosure of a black budget, and the Canadian government was recently outed for the muzzling of scientists. This coincides with the remote viewing experiments that involved the intelligence community and Stanford University, among others. It's interesting that there is also science and official research behind these types of phenomena which lend them further credibility. It's even more interesting that this information lies within the hands of the intelligence community, extremely classified and washed away in secrecy, just like the experiments conducted at Stanford University. Among the varied hallucination associations associated with sleep paralysis, out-of-body experiences and vestibular motor sensations represent a distinct factor. Remote viewing is the ability of individuals to describe a remote geographical location up to several 100,000 kilometers away. This phenomenon has been proven time and again, and shortly after its publication, the program was instantly shut down by the Department of Defense. We have many examples of phenomena that would fit under the spiritual umbrella, and who are we to say that the experiences that occur within sleep paralysis are not indeed real? Sometimes ideas and concepts can be a threat to power, to control, and to overall perception humanity has of reality as a collective. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. If the planet changed the way it looked at sleep paralysis and other inexplicable occurrences, surely this would contribute to one of the biggest paradigm shifts the planet has ever seen, and this is exactly what is continuing to unfold on planet Earth today. The ridicule of these phenomena is a level of social control. Scholars, academics, and elite intellectuals in general constantly describe these things as, if not indicative of insanity, them being primitive and being the product of a lack of education. These concepts in the realm of anthropology and history are taken to be the product of imagination, said Dr. David J. Hufford. My experience with sleep paralysis, the writer says here. When I was a child, I remember having a number of lucid dreams. They seemed so real I felt 100% conscious during the experience, and I was able to do whatever I desired whilst dreaming. My first experience with sleep paralysis did not occur until I was a bit older. The very first time it happened, I remember suddenly awaking from a loud bang, a bright flash of light, although my eyes were closed, and a loud ringing in my ears. I had the ability to open my eyes, but I could not move my body. It's almost as if my brain was awake, but my body was still sleeping. I was terrified, and the reason I didn't open my eyes is because I felt the presence of two beings on my left side and two beings on my right side, and I didn't want to see. Whether they were there or not, I did not know. Whether I was dreaming or not, I did not know. Keep in mind that the experiences like this can occur when people are totally conscious, driving down the street, going out about their everyday lives. Many people have totally conscious experiences with things that seem to be beyond our understanding, and they are not paralyzed or asleep. I have also had bizarre experiences while conscious, which might contribute to my bias on the subject. I do believe that what people experience during sleep paralysis is more than just a trick of the mind. This particular experience I had during sleep lasted approximately 5 minutes until I totally regained consciousness. On another occasion, I again woke up in the middle of the night. I could open my eyes and I was totally aware of my surroundings. I was on the road in a hotel room by myself. I could see the TV, I could see the lamp in the corner of the room, as well as a chair. I could not turn my head, but I could look around. Although my eyes felt heavy, I could indeed open them. I could not move and was pretty scared. I remember thinking, not again, why is this happening to me? I saw a dark, shadowy figure come through the window. It seemed about 5 feet tall. I was on the left side of the bed and the window was in the right corner of the room. It came across the room, across the foot of my bed, to the left side of my head. It put its mouth into my ear and started to whisper rapidly. I could not understand what it was saying, but it was whispering extremely fast. I had a few other experiences after that, which were pretty scary, and I started to desire more because I realized that although I could not move, my consciousness was still there. I was still awake, alert, and able to perceive the environment around me. The next time it happened, I assured myself that I would not react in fear, and that I would instead embrace the experience and try to play with it, explore and use this state of consciousness for further discovery about a potential world we're not usually able to experience. The next time it happened, I reminded myself to stay calm, enjoy it, and see what happens, and this time I actually wanted to communicate with whatever I perceived to be there. When I did this, nothing presented itself. I still could not move, but it did not try to jolt myself out of it. I tried to float out of my body and was successful. I fully floated out of my body, but could only go so far, about a meter. I tried to go further, but it was as if I was still attached to my body. This was a very cool experience, but unfortunately, after making the decision to try to manipulate the situation, the experience ended and I never had it again. These types of occurrences are definitely intriguing, and nobody, including researchers within the scientific world, should dismiss the experience one has during sleep paralysis as completely false. The scientific community should be comfortable in a place of neutrality instead of characterizing something as false without sufficient evidence to back up the claim. There's no need for ridicule. I hope I've provided enough information with the article, as well as adequate sources for you to further your research if interested. And if you have experienced this phenomenon, I'd love for you to share your experiences within the comment section. Thank you for reading. This is by Hydra Collective Evolution on Humans Be Free. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.